Hashtag Jack the Ripper, the original unmasked serial killer. A kidney arrived in the mail. Half of it, anyway. Preserved in wine. The note attached read, "I fried and ate the other half." This was not fiction. This was London, 1888. And whoever sent it had already killed at least 5 women with a surgical precision that left Scotland Yard completely, utterly helpless. London's East End in 1888 was a world most people tried not to see. Whitechapel was a mile-long corridor of disease, desperation, and darkness. 50,000 people crammed into streets that smelled of tanneries, slaughterhouses, and open sewers. 250,000 more poured in each decade, immigrants fleeing pogroms in Russia, the rural poor fleeing starvation in the English countryside. All of them colliding in a neighborhood with no room and no mercy. Women slept in doss houses for 4 pence a night, and when they couldn't afford 4 pence, they walked the streets. It was the only economy available to them. The women who would become Jack the Ripper's victims were not nameless shadows. They had histories, children, loves, and losses. They had names. Marion Nichols was 43 years old. She had 5 children and a failed marriage. On the last night of August 1888, she told a friend she'd soon have enough for her doss house bed. She was found in Bucks Road just after 3 in the morning. Her throat cut so deeply she was nearly decapitated. A police constable had walked past that exact spot just 30 minutes earlier and seen nothing. Nichols had been dead no more than minutes. Whoever killed her was fast, methodical, and gone like smoke. The police assumed it was an isolated attack. They were wrong. 8 days later, Annie Chapman was found in the backyard of 29 Hanbury Street. Her throat cut the same way. But this time, the killer had gone further. Much further. Her abdominal organs had been removed with what a surgeon at the scene described as anatomical knowledge. Not the frenzied cuts of a madman. Deliberate. Precise. A doctor, some said. A butcher, said others. The neighborhood exploded with fear. Who was he? Where had he come from? Why couldn't anyone stop him? Then the letters started. On September 27, the Central News Agency received a letter written in red ink. It mocked the police. It promised more murders. It was signed, Jack the Ripper. Most investigators today believe it was a hoax sent by a journalist. But the name stuck. And it gave the public something to call the shadow that was killing women in the dark. 3 days later, the shadow struck twice in a single night. Elizabeth Stride was found just after 1 in the morning on September 30, throat cut, body still warm. Her killer had been interrupted. He'd had to run. And so he went looking for someone else. Within the hour, he found Catherine Eddowes in Mitre Square. This time there was no interruption. She was mutilated beyond anything the police had yet seen. Part of her face had been carved away. Her kidney removed. A message was left on the wall nearby, chalked in the darkness, reading, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." The Metropolitan Police Commissioner ordered it wiped away before dawn to prevent anti-Semitic riots. The evidence, gone. The killer, gone. The city was in full panic now. Newspapers ran front-page coverage daily. Vigilante groups patrolled the alleys of Whitechapel. Women locked themselves inside. Hundreds of tips flooded Scotland Yard. All of them useless. Then George Lusk received his package. Lusk headed a citizens' watch group called the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. In October, a small cardboard box arrived at his home. Inside, half a preserved human kidney. The note with it said it had been taken from one woman and that the sender had fried and ate the rest. A doctor examined the kidney and confirmed it belonged to a woman in her mid-40s who had suffered from Bright's disease, the same disease Catherine Eddowes had been diagnosed with. The same age. The same profile. Lusk had been sent the missing organ of the 4th victim. He was given it like a trophy. Like a message. The police still had nothing. On November 9, 1888, Mary Jane Kelly was found inside her room on Miller's Court. She was 25 years old. She was the youngest. She was the only victim killed indoors, which meant her killer had all the time and privacy he wanted. What was found in that room was so horrifying that a senior detective at the scene wrote in his report that he had seen nothing like it in 25 years of police work and hoped never to see anything like it again. The room had been transformed. It took 2 hours for a doctor to complete the examination. Her heart was missing. It was never found. After Mary Kelly, Jack the Ripper simply stopped. No more bodies. No arrest. No confession. No deathbed revelation. He dissolved back into the city, and the city swallowed him whole. Scotland Yard investigated for years. The files weren't closed until 1892. Suspects piled up like autumn leaves. Montague John Drute, a barrister and schoolteacher, found dead in the Thames weeks after Mary Kelly's murder. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant barber with a history of mental illness who Scotland Yard quietly named as their prime suspect in internal memos. Francis Tumblety, an American quack doctor who fled England just after the final murder. Walter Sickert, the painter, implicated by novelist Patricia Cornwell, who spent millions trying to prove it through DNA evidence. She remains convinced to this day. None of it was ever proven. None of it ever stuck. The case spawned over 100 books, a cottage industry of amateur sleuths called ripperologists, forensic reanalysis using modern DNA technology, and endless documentaries. In 2014, a businessman claimed that DNA on a shawl found near Catherine Eddowes confirmed Aaron Kosminski as the killer. The scientific community argued the methodology was flawed. The debate continues in academic journals to this day. In 2019, new analysis of the crime scene suggested the killer may have had a base of operations in the heart of Whitechapel, not a wealthy surgeon traveling in from the suburbs as many theorized, but someone who lived and worked among the victims. Someone who was invisible because he looked exactly like everyone else. That is perhaps the most unsettling truth of the Jack the Ripper case. Not the mutilations. Not the taunting letters. Not the organ sent in a box. It's that after 138 years of investigation, with the full weight of modern forensic science, behavioral profiling, and DNA analysis, we still cannot say with certainty who he was. He killed in the most densely packed neighborhood in one of the world's largest cities. He killed while residents slept feet away. He killed and walked home and sat down to breakfast and was never caught. He was ordinary. He was invisible. And he was never found. If you want more stories like this, cold cases, unsolved mysteries, and the crimes that changed history, subscribe and hit the bell. Every week, we go back into the dark.